Hi guys, welcome to the part two of the project, creating a Django app. So here we will create a polls app where you will be allowed to poll and we'll go to the entire process of doing it. Again, I'm following the tutorial from Django projects. The few tutorials is very good. I recommend watching it. So in our previous video, we ended up creating a Django server, that is by creating a Django project using the start project my site, and then we ran the server using Python manage.py run server. Today we are going to create an app called polls app. Now to create this app, you can create manage.py. This is like almost all the commands will use Python manage.py, and now you can use the command start app and give a app name. In our case, it is polls app. So we'll copy this, go to our environment and paste it. So once you paste it, it should create a polls app for us. If you go here, it will create a folder structure like this, which will have admin.py, apps.py, models.py, tests, and views.py, which we'll explore later. So once you have that, we will see if it's complete. Do a ls. You see that the polls app is created. Now go here. We have to create something called as views.py. Now with this folder structure, you can open any of your interpreter or the terminal. I have VS Code, Visual Studio Code. You can use PyCharm, or you can use Sublime Text, or you can use any terminal that you want. My terminal is VS Code. In this, I have opened up my folder here, and you see that the polls app that I created just now is already here. So in this, I go to views.py, open it. You see that there is nothing here, and we will keep adding things here. Go to my write the first view, copy this first view and paste it here. So what this is doing is it is creating a view called as index, and when that particular view is inquired, or when the URL hits that view, it will show that hello world, you are at the polls index. The second step, if you go to the documentation, is that you have something called as urls.py, and this is where you tell when you hit that path, that is the path that you see here after your IP address, and that's the path that goes here. In our case, that will be an empty path. So copy this and go to your urls.py. You don't have urls.py here, right? We will install this. It will install in the background. So let it happen by itself. We can close this. And now, if you see here, you don't have urls.py. So what you have to do is, in this new file, urls.py, create this file and paste it. So what it tells is from dot, meaning from views. From this views, the name is index. So you go to your urls.py and import that views. Now that views.index is here. So what the URL pattern tells us, these are called patterns. So when this particular URL is pattern is written, for now it is empty. It will hit the index.py, and we have given a name called as index, which can be used later. Now this is not enough. You have to go back, and if you see that, you have to also edit my site URLs, right? Which is the major URL. So copy this, go to your my site. Here you have URLs already. Come down and paste everything. So now your urls.py in my site will look like this. What it says is when you hit your server polls slash, it's going to include all the URLs from polls urls.py from here, right? Which we have only one. Now let's see what to do next. Go back and you can do run server. Let's see what happens when you do that. We'll go here, we'll run our server, enter. It will take some time to run the server, and now when it is running, we should be able to go to urls.py and it should show us what we have here. That is in our views, it should show hello world, you are at polls index. So let us see if the server is running. Yes, the server is running and it's running at HTTP and colon 8000. Open it in your browser. You see that page is not found. That is because your URL pattern did not match. What you have to do is polls slash. Let me zoom in a little. What you have to do is copy this and put it in your URLs here. After this slash polls, enter. Do you see this? Now your view is been linked to the URL. So this was the path that was added, and this was the text that you added. Hello world, you are at polls.index. So that way you have a running app and everything that you need is here. So all your functionality will go, functions will go in your views.py and the path will go in your urls.py, and this path should also be there in the main URLs, which is my site urls.py. So going back, our next step will be you can read up on all of this to understand more, and we will go to writing Django part 2. In this, we will set up the database. For our database, we have set up SQLite DB. I will show here. Go back here, go to my site, go to settings.py, and this is where if you scroll down, you will see something called as databases. And this is where your database will be. And for your case, your database is here, which is SQLite 3. Keep it as it is. And remember, once you do this, you have to run a command called as migrate. That is because your code will essentially create migrations, which are like models, and create the tables, etc. in your SQLite DB. So we'll come here. You will see that when you ran the app, you also said you have 18 unapplied migrations. To solve this problem, Control C to stop the server, and now do python manage.py migrate, enter. This will take some time and it will create migrations for you. Let's go back to the command. After the migrations are done, we have to create models. This is how we tell our app how our database should look like. For creating models, you can create models in models.py. In our case, our app was polls, so we will create models.py inside polls. Going back here, you see that all of this is created, and these are all the migrations that are done. Let's clear this, go to our interpreter of our choice. I am going to close all of this, and I will go to polls models.py, and here I will create the models. So models are nothing but database, how the database should look like. So in my case, I will have a model called as questions, which will have the questions, and choice, which will have the different choice. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in my models.py. So whatever your table should look like, this will be your name. So I have two tables here. One is question and one is choice. It has to always subclass from model.model, even in this case models.model. So once that is done, you should know what is the kind of attributes you want in your table. So in this case, we want questions.text and a date field, which can be easily done by models.character field, and the maximum length of the text is 200. Same thing for the choice.text I've done here at the bottom. And for publish date, I'm using models.datetime field, and this is just a label that's given. So when you do this, Django will automatically create the tables for you, and doesn't matter what database you're using, it will automatically do all the changes that are required. So I have questions which has question text and a publication date, and in my choices I have a question, I have a choice text, and I have a votes field which will be an integer field. Let's go back here. So once this is done, we have to activate the model, that is creating the table and stuff like that. So to do that, what we have to do is we don't have this um, particular app in our settings. So our Django doesn't know that our app exists. So what we have to do it is we have to add this line polls apps polls.config, and when we do that, you should go here and you have to go to my site settings, scroll up to something called as installed apps. In your installed apps, paste that line, which is polls apps polls config, right? What it will do is it will create what you need. That is, it is going to add this particular app into your settings, and now you can do a migration on it. Copy this, come to your terminal, add this manage.py, make migrations, and this is your app name, that is polls. So this is your app name, that is polls. Enter, and now it will do the migrations for that particular app and that particular project. Do you see this is created? So it created two tables here. Now, once the manage.py make migrations are done, what you do is Python manage.py migrate. These migrations that was created here will be applied in this make migrations migrate command. So you can also do just make migrations where all of your apps will be migrated. You can do this instead of doing manage.py make migration, keep the app name. You can do for all of them. Now we don't have any migrations because we didn't do any changes to our models, which was already done. So in our models.py, we don't have any more changes. All the previous changes are done. So make migrations and migrate. So first do make migrations and then do migrate. So let's go back to our documentation, and now our migration is done. In this case, you can do many other things. For example, in your models.py, when you look up a particular model, you can also see how it should look like. So we can do that doing Python manage.py shell. Let's see. We'll clear this. We'll do a shell. You should be in that particular folder, and when you do Python manage.py shell, it will open up a shell for you with all the Django environments. It is essentially a Python shell, but with all the Django environments. Here, if you scroll down and see, we can do import of the question, copy it and paste it. We can import it from polls models. So we have everything. And now the way to query is that particular model dot objects dot all will show all the entries. These are your rows in your table. We don't have any. So what we'll do is we have to create a row. And the way to do it is create. This is just a time zone module that I'm importing, which I needed here. So This will be my command. Question is my model. Question text is my field in the model, which is this, and publication date is the date time field. So that is why my pub date is timezone.now, which is the current time. Now if I do Q and enter, see this is a question object. And let's go back here. This object is not saved into a database. We can save it by doing q.save. This will save the object. Let's see if we can read everything, which is question.objects.all. If I enter, you see that there is this object which is saved now, and this was the object which was not saved, right? And that way you have added successfully to your database. Now you can always do a question.pubdate or question.text, and it will show you everything. For example, q dot question text, and it will show you what's new, and that is what you entered. You can also modify it. Question text equal to this is a new question. Enter. Now you can save this q dot save, and now if you do question text, do you see that this is a new question and you have successfully updated it? There are also certain changes that you can do. For example, when you print question, for example, here we have Q, and now if I do print Q, it will show question object 1. But instead of this, if you want to show the question itself, what you have to do is essentially copy this double underscore str command, go to your models.py and right here, make sure your indentation is correct. It should be here, and def, whenever print is called, it will show question text, and do the same for the choice text. Copy this, go here, enter, paste it, make sure your indentation is correct, and then go back. Now if you see, there are also other custom methods that can be added to the model. So before doing that, let's go back, and Control C will close the session. Control D will exit the interactive console, open the shell again. Now in this case, what we will do is we will again query all the commands that were there by essentially going to the page and importing all the models. Let's go here and do this, and then again go here, copy the question.objects.all, paste it here. Now you see, instead of the question, you have the actual question text being printed. And that is because you told Python when print command is called, it is going to print the question text. Similarly, you can add other uh, methods. For example, in this case, it is adding a custom method to this model, which is nothing but was published recently. So which will tell if it was published recently or not. Copy this and put this in your particular model here. Now you don't have imported correctly, so you change the imports correctly, and now you have everything imported right, and you can call this on your particular model. Let's see how it's going to do that. Go back here, close your session, open your session again, and essentially go here, copy polls models choice question, paste it here. So now you have imported all your models. Once that is done, you can not only use objects.all, you can do model name objects.filter, and we are filtering based on the ID. So in this case, this is a new question is what was filtered, correct? Now you can also do if the question starts with something else. So in that case, copy this, you can put this, and you can do question text is the name, double underscore is how it tells Python that you have to start, using another function starts with. So in this case, the query set will be empty because we don't have any questions there. If you have a question, our question starts with this. If I do this, you get a question now. So that way you can check starts with. And also, let's see, we will check if we can get a question that was published this year. Now, we will simply copy paste these commands, which is current year time zone now, and then also do a publish year, which will tell us whether it's a current year. And this, yes, successfully did a get. Now get will bring just one entry, unlike filter will get you multiple entries. You can do the same thing in this get. Let's, if you do get here, get of id2 doesn't exist and it will throw an error saying it does not exist. Clear it. And now what you can do is go back here, store that particular one and paste it here. Now we can use this particular method that we created was published recently, and you can call it, it says true. That is because your function will return true because the days might equal to 1. It was entered yesterday, and that's the reason it will return true. You can play around with this by doing many different things like create choice, set question, and things like that. I will leave it to you to do all of this, and you can also delete it. So play around with this and check the different commands, and this will be in your assignments to write different commands and show the output of your shell terminal. And now this will be the end of part 2, and in part 3 I will show you what Django admin can do. Thank you.